This is Vietnam, an emerging destination for tourism and investment. The fruit industry is an especially important sector as it has gained achievements in domestic consumption and export. Vietnam produces fruits like dragon fruit, lychee, and longan, which have increasing demand internationally due to their attractive shape and color, high nutritional value, and potential health benefits. Despite large quantities and great preference from consumers, post-harvest losses of these fruits are huge. The major problem is the quality reduction due to poor post-harvest practices and suboptimal storage and supply chain conditions. Moreover, there is absence of processing options to create added value to markets. These challenges limit their expansion in both local and international markets. Thus, strategies to minimize post-harvest losses of fruits have been urgently needed. To address this need, some VNUA-funded projects were executed under the supervision of Professor Bart Nicolai and Dr. Martin Hertog of KU Leuven and Professor Tran Thi Dinh of Vietnam National University of Agriculture. The promoters took a holistic approach by developing appropriate post-harvest technology, including post-harvest treatments and optional storage conditions to maintain the quality and extend the shelf life of fruit for consumption. Next to the post-harvest work, innovative food processes were developed to create highly added value products with improved storage stability and high nutritional value. For example, nutritious juices, jams, wine, detox tea, and dried fruits from dragon fruit, thus rationalizing the use of natural resources and increasing the efficiency and sustainability of the fruit industry. Besides product diversification, the post-harvest waste such as dragon fruit peel and seed were turned into value-added products. The products processed from the dragon fruit were presented in many events for consumer tasting and got positive feedback from the public. With the technologies developed, the research groups have been working with food companies to initiate contracts for technology commercialization. Through joint research with the Flemish partner, the VNUA staffs have been able to become world-class experts in food technology. They have also coached many undergraduate and graduate students from VNUA and KU Leuven in lab work and real-life production at the pilot scale. Now, let's see their views observed while they were training at VNUA.
In Vietnam, I learned a new culture and a new way of doing research. I had a chance of unique personal growth thanks to my friends at the university. The experience broadened my horizons and changed my worldview.
I had the opportunity to gather data in Hanoi, Vietnam. My general feelings about the project were that it was very well organized. I had no travel issues, a lot of help, and the objectives of my stay were clear. Also, the financial help was sufficient in order to fund my journey. At last, I want to say that it was a really fun experience, so I would totally recommend it.
It's a great opportunity to learn something new. Here is a perfect condition for research. And I also make a new friend from any countries in the world.
Now, the knowledge and technologies developed have not only been transferred to students who later work in food manufacturing sector, but also are disseminated to the interested growers, cooperatives, and the local governments where the fruits are grown. This involves training programs, workshops, and outreach activities with the participation of both local and Flemish research groups. Besides capacity building, the research results have been exchanged with other scientists at international conferences and published in the international journals with high impact. Thanks to the successful results and great impacts of the projects, the reputation and scientific recognition of VNUA much increased, creating a broad network and lots of opportunities with other academic organizations, the food industry, and developmental agencies such as World Bank, ADB, APO, Naufusted, FWO, Ricolto International, VB FoodNet Partners, Tupperware Company, and etc. To conclude, the VNUA-funded projects not only strengthen the Vietnamese horticultural sector, but also drive momentum for further development of international collaborations. Hello, and good day, ladies and gentlemen. As introduced in the video, our research group at the VNUA focuses on the reduction of post-harvest losses of fruits and vegetables in order to strengthen the Vietnamese fruit sector through South initiatives and team projects funded by the VNUA. In order to execute these projects, we have joined the force of the MiBio's post-harvest research group in KU Leuven, led by Professor Bart Nicolai and Dr. Martin Hertog. This group is one of the largest and most visible post-harvest research groups worldwide. In the context of our projects, we have taken the demand-driven research approach in which the research programs were designed based on the needs of the main actors in the fruit value chains, namely the growers, the food companies, and the consumers. After discussing with them, we found each actor facing a different set of issues. For the case of the fruit growers, although they are skillful and have long-lasting experiences on growing fruits and producing vast quantities of these fruits, they haven't been able to apply the most optimal post-harvest practices. In addition, they have limited access to the market. Therefore, post-harvest losses are huge, estimated up to be 25 to 30%. For the consumers, many of them nowadays prefer food products which ensure food safety and have high nutritional quality at a reasonable price. In the case of the food companies, they are looking for innovative technologies to produce high-quality foods which meet consumer demands. They seek for suppliers who can provide fruits with stable quantity and quality. From the real-life problems raised by these three actors, we as scientists designed the research programs to address their needs. With this approach, the ownership of the project outputs for local people increased because they benefit from research results. Throughout the VNUA's projects, our goals aimed for, first, building the capacity for education, research, and extension at VNUA on food technology. The second goal is developing innovative post-harvest and food processing technologies for longan, lychee, and dragon fruit suitable for the local conditions. The third goal is the transferring of knowledge to the relevant stakeholders. Lastly, strengthening the horticultural sector and broaden networking. With the goals mentioned above, we implemented many research activities and achieved both academic and developmental outputs. First, the laboratory facilities for post-harvest research devoted to training, and the research was much improved. The basic equipment, such as cooling chambers, freezers, dryer, filtration machines, colorimeters, pH meters, barometers, and etc., were in place in the first phase of the projects. Next, post-harvest handlings and storage conditions were optimized for lychee, longan, and dragon fruit to maintain quality and extend shelf life of the targeted fruits. As can be seen in these pictures, under the optimal condition, the storage life of the lychee and the longan could be extended for 37 days at 4 degrees Celsius, with the decay rate less than 5%, while the control fruit was rotten after 28 days. For the case of the dragon fruit, the optimal temperature and gas composition in the controlled atmosphere storage was identified to keep the fruit being fresh for 55 days at 6 degrees Celsius, about 7 weeks longer than the fruit stored at the ambient conditions. Furthermore, the research was performed to understand the mechanism of chilling injury in dragon fruit, with the intention to develop post-harvest treatments to reduce the impact of chilling during cold storage and transportation. All of these important findings contribute to ensure fruits of sufficient quality for export to distant markets and hence trade for hard currency. Besides storage of fresh fruits, food processing was applied to transform surplus fruits and their waste into highly added value products, as can be seen in these pictures. We have red wine and white wine made from the red and white dragon fruit, various types of juices and jams from dragon fruit with the addition of other local specialty fruits in order to enhance color and flavor of the final products. And lastly, dried candies made from the dragon fruit peel. This peel is a waste that's common from fruit processing. Here are soy milk and soy yogurt with fruit and vegetable additions to increase nutritional and sensory quality. These products were exhibited at different public events to test consumer preference and got their positive feedback. In addition, some of these products are now being negotiated with food companies for their commercialization. Next to the products, the research results were presented at 17 national and international conferences to exchange ideas with the scientific community. 3 books and 14 articles were also published in the high-impact journals, and several are still underway. The human capacity is much improved through organizing 7 training programs for about 300 staff and students in VNUA, KU Leuven, and the VLUR network partners, as well as 5 programs for dissemination and outreach activities to train about 500 local people. With all the great outcomes and impacts generated from the VLUR US funded projects, our research groups, VNUA and KU Leuven, and the partner in Boku University, Austria, were granted the Bernrode Award in the category of Project Excellence by the ASEAN European Academic University Network. Thanks to these achievements, the scientific visibility of the VNUA much increased, creating a broad network with other academic and developmental organizations, initiating further collaborations. To receive this reputation, we gratefully acknowledge the contribution of our partners, especially the wonderful and consistent support from the VLUR US and the Belgian Embassy in Vietnam. They really helped to open our minds and change the life of many people. For future perspectives, our plans are the following. First, extending the knowledge dissemination to the relevant stakeholders. Second, intellectual properties registration for some technologies. Third, seeking for partners to commercialize technologies. Fourth, applying similar approach to other commodities. And fifth and lastly, continue broadening the network. This work plan closes the presentation. We thank all of you for your kind attention, and we look forward to discussing with you further during our panel discussion section of the program. Thank you very much.
Now let's move on the panel discussion. With great pleasure, I would like to introduce the speakers who will join me today. Let's start with Professor Bart Nicolai from Belgium. Professor Nicolai, could you please briefly introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Yes, so my name is Bart Nicolai. I'm a professor at the University of Leuven, and I'm leading, together with Maarten Hertog and Pieter Verboven, the post-harvest research group at that institute. And I'm also leading the Flanders Center of Post-Harvest Technology, which is a non-profit organization that carries out research for the benefit of farmers and cooperatives.
Yep. Thank you, Professor Bart Nicolai. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Rodney Wee from Singapore. Yeah, please, Dr. Wee.
You're muted, sir. You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry, forgot. Yeah. My name is Rodney Wee. I'm the CEO of Asia Cold Chain Singapore. Basically, people think that we're just cold chain, but we actually look at atmospheric control, environment control for food, all kinds of food, fruit and vegetables, seafood, and meats and poultry and stuff. Okay, my work covers agri-based production, post-harvest, food technologies, including food logistics. We also the resource consultants for Asian Productivity Organization, or APO, an organization covering 20 member countries since 1961. I met Dr. Dinh in one of our earlier workshops several years ago. We followed up with joint activities in Vietnam, basically to assist SME farmers to transfer best practices in post-harvest and value adding for the Vietnamese food production. COVID-19 has exposed a lot of weaknesses in traditional logistics practices and in the food chains. So it's not just the vaccines and stuff. And so in 2020, the Japanese government with APO approved a budget to assist Vietnam in a pilot project, a demo company project, with some demo companies. And we look forward to working with VNUA on this in the near future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wee. Next person, I would like to invite Dr. Nguyen Binh from Vietnam.
Good afternoon from Vietnam and good morning to the people in Belgium. My name is Nguyen Binh. I am an alumni who study in Belgium for master and PhD, and also Bart Nicolai, also my teacher during my time in Belgium. Good afternoon, Professor. At the moment, I'm working at Cần Thơ University. I'm coordinator of the Master Program in Food Technology funded by VNUA for 10 years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Binh. And I would like to invite Mr. Bui Van Minh, also from Vietnam.
Thank you, Dinh. Thank you very much. Good afternoon and so good evening. My name is Minh Bui Van. So I am working on UNDP in Vietnam. So before that, I worked for the FNV, and so I work for the GIZ in Vietnam. My background is agriculture specialist. So I have long time working with the private sector, also farmer group on the food safety, and also value chain purpose. So nice to meet you here, and I thank you, Dinh, for inviting me to participate for this kind of Vietnamese event. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Minh. The last person is Dr. Tran Thinh from Vietnam. So Dr. Thinh can speak French and Vietnamese, but in this event, he prefers to speak Vietnamese. I will translate for him. Yeah, please, Dr. Thinh.
Xin chào chị Định. Chị Định nghe không ạ?
Dạ vâng ạ, nghe tốt ạ.
Chắc là xin giới thiệu sơ về tiếng Pháp trước về mình một vài dòng, rồi sau đó các cái nội dung chị Định hỏi thì mình sẽ trả lời bằng tiếng Việt. Không biết họ đồng ý không, chị Định dịch cho họ luôn.
Okay, so he wants to say some words in French to greeting people, and then he will speak in Vietnamese. Yeah.
Bonjour les professeurs, bonjour madame la professeure Dinh, bonjour à tous. Je suis Tran Thinh. Je suis le chef du département de la gestion des sciences et de la coopération internationale, doyen de la faculté de technologie, Université de Phan Thiet, province de Binh Tuan. C'est une province côtière. J'ai fini mon doctorat en sciences économiques et biologie, Université de Liège, Jean-Loup Agrobiotech en 2015. Xin hết chị Định à, rồi chắc có thể là nhờ chị giúp dùm.
Okay. Yeah. So I will quickly translate his introduction because some people probably.
True. I agree with you as well. So then actually our country, let's say Indonesia, have a big potential actually. But yeah, we have to start.
May I ask some people to mute? Okay, so I will quickly translate the introduction of Mr. Dinh. My name is Tran Thinh. Currently, I'm head of Department of Science and Technology and International Cooperation. I'm also the Dean of Faculty Engineering in Phan Thiet University in Binh Tuan province. I obtained the PhD degree in agrobiotechnology in Bui University in Belgium. Okay, so excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in this session, we will hear the panelists sharing their insights on the topics of food losses. And we also encourage the attendees to ask questions or to provide comments using the chat features. You can find the chat menu at the bottom of your webinar screen, so please make use of it. Let's start with Professor Bart Nicolai. Bart, I understand you have been leading many projects with partners coming from different countries. Could you please share with us your thoughts on the importance of partnership and its contribution to success of a project? Thank you.
Thanks, Ding. Well, first I have to admit that well, while we have done many projects with partners from different countries, until about 10 years ago, we did not really have any partner in developing countries. And yet I kind of wanted to start sharing and transferring the knowledge on post-harvest technologies with partners in those countries, because really post-harvest is all about storage of fruit and vegetables and maintaining their quality as good as possible after harvest. And the big problems are nowadays still in developing countries, because in developed countries, most of the big problems are in fact solved, and we can still do something about quality. But I think that the real benefit is in developing countries. And I did had a prior curriculum development project with what was then called, I think, Hanoi University of Agriculture. But this was not really about research. It was about new courses, new curriculum, and so on. And at some point, Ding, in fact, came to find me because she was doing a master's degree in our university, and she told me that she wanted to collaborate with us. And in fact, the first thing that she did was doing a thesis in my lab. Then afterwards, she stayed on, did a PhD in another lab, but in the same division and so on. And we decided, in fact, to start something up. And as always, you typically start with like a small project, like a South Initiative, as it is called. But this is kind of a warming up exercise. And the idea is then to get a larger team project, because it is really in those team projects and in the even bigger IUC project that you can really make a difference. And in fact, this has been only the beginning of many other projects, FWO, NAFOSTAT projects that we have. And we have been now collaborating with Ding for, I think, about 10 years. And I must admit that I really enjoy it. There are some problems with working in such international teams, and this is due to the fact that we look at what happens with fruit and vegetables after harvest, which means that if you harvest local products such as dragon fruit or lychee fruit in Vietnam, then you have to do something with it. And if you transport it to Belgium, then a part of your post-harvest life is already passed, and the fruit, when it arrives in Belgium, is different than the fruit when it was harvested. So this was something that we had to solve. And I think another problem was also that the local lab at that time lacked some research infrastructure that we have in Belgium. So there was definitely a need for collaboration between both Ding and my group, but there were some issues to solve. But by thinking hard and by communicating often, we kind of solved these problems and so on. And I think the fact that Ding also spent a while in my lab while doing her master thesis, that helped. She knew how a typical post-harvest lab should be operated. So since then, we had many regular visits and meetings, luckily many of them live. So this was before COVID. Of course, And I think I'm kind of proud on what Ding did in our partnership. So she built out really excellent research capacity, both in terms of infrastructure as well as in terms of staff. Ding's lab is now a top-notch post-harvest lab, and I'm really looking forward to continue our collaboration in the future. Back to you, Ding.
Thank you very much, Professor Bart Nicolai, for underlining great points of the importance of partnership and its contribution to the success of the project. I just want to add one more point. In my opinion, the most crucial factors are the competence and drive of the project partners. They should have an enthusiastic team, but also the scientific strength that allow them to give the full credit to each other. And I think in this way, it is feasible to implement the project and generate the good outcomes and impacts. Now, moving to our next speakers coming from Lion City, Dr. Rodney Wee. Rodney, you have so many years working as a research consultant for Asian Productivity Organization and working closely with the farmers and cooperatives. Could you please share with us your expert opinions on the need and also the importance of dissemination and outreach activities to growers in general, and how to organize the training programs in an effective and efficient way? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I believe there's quite a lot of people globally better to answer your two-part question. Nevertheless, I will try and venture to give my views based on what we have done. Many nations have agriculture, especially Asian countries, as one of their economic pillars. They rely on agriculture. But if you look at Asia, agricultural practices today, as Bart will say, you know, we're still 70–80% operations that are SME, small and medium size, you know, and we are even some of the countries are practicing tenant farming and market gardening, not really, you know, in a sense where it should be properly run, not like in Europe and in the Western countries anyway. So meantime, volumes of reports of people like us who are doing all the research and the projects and the results and the reports and the outcomes, learning outcomes and the applications produced by us which are often funded internationally, or sit at shelves of somebody's shelves and are not transformed into action. So dissemination is the key to answering your question. And the issues include translation into local languages and dialects. That's the first one that I look at, because a lot of people in the Asian countries say, well, it's not in my language, so I really don't understand. So the first thing to do is translation. Second, it should be simplified into best practices for each product and each produce. As you and I know, fruit and vegetables, you know, although we categorize them, individuals product has got, or produce has got its characteristics. So we need to break it down. Meantime, there are losses and damages even at harvest, you know, post-harvest, to handling and transport on the way in the food logistics chain. Actually challenges to the rural folk, because it's cost and the know-how, right? Trying to achieve the productivity that will give them their earnings. Their losses are in waste. So we are trying to improve, not only trying to improve their productivity, we are trying to improve their incomes, but the issues and challenges also that these people are facing are also discouraging younger people from carrying on agriculture. And so that motivates the demographic shift to other industries. They want to go to the cities and work. So I see proper dissemination of knowledge, skills, and techniques and technologies and methodologies at the grower and producer levels will be the answer to addressing this above. You know, in places like in Japan, when they now find that in the cities it's harder to get things done, they're taking their new educational levels and their technologies, knowledge of technology back into the farms, where we are talking about 4G in agriculture now, using of drones and higher level technologies in that. So in implementation, I suggest we head towards what we are doing now, pilot projects for clusters, either zones, either a single volume like what you do, lychees, longans, and dragon fruit, or actually a zone like your 8 districts, all right, with demo groups. Get them going. Once they're successful, we clone them with certain amount of adaptation, contexting, because the different environments and such, and then build the capacity and self-sufficiency at first, and then meet the national agricultural-based food security challenges and strategies that governments want to do. Okay, and in all the Asian countries, what we have learned in the past year is that there's food being produced outside the urban zone, but there's no food in the urban areas. And so getting it from one place to another due to the pandemic was a nightmare. And it still is in many cases when we go back to lockdowns. So how do we do this? Training and outreach programs, the formulation to get it organized. How do you want to get it organized? Who you want to reach? And implementation. It should be led, as far as I'm concerned, by the industry, because nobody knows it better than the people on the ground. It should be assisted and facilitated by institutions and agencies, which most of us are from. Yeah, and government, we don't ask the government to do everything. It's not fair, but they can be the main catalyst to provide support and resources at all levels, whether it's from the main government to the provincial and district levels. So COVID-19 has exposed flaws in our traditional practices. Like my grandfather did it, my father did it, so I'm doing it. And it really has caused a mess. And they realize now, before they are stubborn, now they're not so stubborn when you talk to them. So having all these similar programs initiated by us and others is now finding ears. People are listening and people are interested to participate. So the idea of dissemination and implementation, get it down to the ground level, is now an open book. Let's go get it done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rodney Wee, for your concise and informative suggestions. Given that Mr. Bui Van Minh has a rich experience on working with international NGOs on food value chains in many provinces along Vietnam, and I guess he also involved in many training programs for the producers. Could you please share with us your view on the points highlighted by Dr. Rodney Wee, especially in the context of Vietnam? Yeah.
Thank you, Dinh. Thank you very much. I think that what Dr. Rodney highlighted is very important on the way the science or the professor transfer the technology to producer and the entrepreneur in the big picture. However, in the Vietnam context, there are many small farmers who have only less than 1 hectare of land and with limited knowledge and also education and also even in terms of labor. So regarding also on the small and medium enterprise that also already mentioned by Dr. Rodney. However, in Vietnam, the FME, they have only having 15, 20 employees who are many part-time or seasonal workers. And their work, it depends so much on crop of season. Why? Because in some crop, you can see example in case of lychee, the harvesting time season only lasts, let's say, 20 days, 30 days per year. So that with this kind of situation, I would like to share some points on how we should organize the training program in effective and also efficient ways. First, the practical training is more desirable than theory. The training topics should focus both technical and also soft skill, which contribute to better knowledge and also skill of farmer and worker. And training on the craft is good. However, hand-on coaching, hand by hand, is very important way to transfer the knowledge and also technology for farmer, especially for those living in rural or in remote area. Second point, the organized training through the cooperative or through the farmer group can bring positive impact to the farmer who are the member of the cooperative and also group. Another possible training approach is to demonstration farm or demonstration pilots. Why? Because the farmer always want to hear, but however, they want to see. So that's why the demonstration farm gives the farmer to chance to see, to compare between the traditional and also the improved practice. So introducing the simple practice and technology that easy applicable is essentially to convince farmer to adopt and implement them. Third, through my experience, I find that if the training topic or the content or approach are relevant, only one short-term training can already support to change the behavior of the farmer forward the application of new technology. And long training with too much information maybe not relevant to appreciate for farmer who can find too much. So my recommendation here that when we do the training to the farmer or to worker, please to make it consistent and so short as possible. And the final point, I think that we could not choose, but however, if we have a chance to choose, so please to work with the age of the farmer. The age of farmer is also an influencing factor to adoption of new technology. Normally, the young farmer or young worker seem to more welcome the new thing and new technology. Is one of my point to add that for the before. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Minh and Dr. Rodney, for your fantastic and practical recommendations on the dissemination and outreach activities for the producers and cooperatives. We will surely take these points into consideration to have a better training programs for the future. And now let's go to Binh Tuan province, in which you can find the most beautiful beaches in Vietnam. And it's also the well-known place for dragon fruit growing. And Mr. Tran Thinh, could you please give us some key information about the current situation of dragon fruit in Binh Tuan, focusing on production and market outputs for domestic consumption and export, and also the development strategies for dragon fruit in this province. Ms. Thinh will share with us in Vietnamese, and then I will quickly translate for him. Yeah.
Xin cảm ơn chỗ câu hỏi của chị Định. Tôi xin chia sẻ một số thông tin liên quan về thanh long Bình Thuận như sau. Việt Nam là một quốc gia dẫn đầu thế giới về sản xuất thanh long với tổng sản lượng là 1,3 triệu tấn trong cái năm 2020. Trong đó tỉnh Bình Thuận là chiếm hơn 50% sản lượng thanh long toàn quốc. Tại Bình Thuận thì thanh long được xem như là một cái cây trồng quan trọng nhất và giúp cải thiện kinh tế tạo cho cái người dân địa phương. Thì thanh long Bình Thuận chủ yếu là ở dưới dạng quả tươi. Trong đó thị trường nội địa thì chiếm khoảng là 15% và 85% là thanh long còn lại phục vụ xuất khẩu. Trong đó thị trường Trung Quốc là chiếm khoảng 80%. Mặc dầu là sản lượng lớn nhưng mà hiệu quả kinh tế của thanh long nó chưa có ổn định lắm, bởi vì là giá cả biến động do lệ thuộc nhiều vào thị trường Trung Quốc. Và cái nguyên nhân thứ hai đó là chuỗi giá trị thanh long chưa bền vững. Thứ ba đó là sản phẩm chế biến thanh long hiện còn rất khiêm tốn trên thị trường. Thì chính vì vậy thì là chiến lược của phát triển của thanh long Bình Thuận thì trong thời gian tới là như sau. Đó là thúc đẩy cái áp dụng các cái giải pháp kỹ thuật là trước thu hoạch để phát triển sản phẩm thanh long bền vững và an toàn. Ngoài ra thì cũng tăng cái diện tích trồng thanh long an toàn lên, đó là thanh long Việt ghép và thanh long global ghép lên đến 70% vào năm 2025. Và một cái cuối cùng đó là tăng cường áp dụng thực hành tốt sau thu hoạch và công nghệ chế biến sâu để giảm tổn thất sau thu hoạch, nâng cao giá trị gia tăng và ổn định thị trường đầu ra cho thanh long. Tôi xin hết ạ.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Thinh, for sharing with us the crucial information on dragon fruit in Binh Tuan. I quickly translate his opinions into English. Vietnam is a world leading producer of dragon fruits, with a total production of 1.3 million tons in 2020, in which fruit quantity in Binh Tuan accounts for 50%. In Binh Tuan, dragon fruit is the most important crops as it contributes to improve farmers' livelihood and also creating jobs for thousands of local people. So far, dragon fruit is mainly consumed as fresh, in which the domestic market is attributed for about 15%, and the remaining of 85% is for export. And the major export market is in China, accounting for about 80%. Despite a huge quantity, its economic benefits are not stable because of erratic price changes due to strong reliance on the Chinese market and unstable dragon fruit value chain, limited processed food from dragon fruit in the market. Therefore, the development strategies for dragon fruit in Binh Tuan are first, enhancing the application of pre-harvest techniques for sustainable dragon fruit production. Second, raising the percentage of safe dragon fruit growing area with VietGAP and Global GAP certification up to 70% by 2025. Thus, boosting application of best post-harvest practices and innovative processing technology to reduce post-harvest losses and improve added value and stabilize the market output for dragon fruit. So that's points of Mr. Thinh. Now I want to go back to Mr. Bui Van Minh. Dear Minh, I know that some recent years you have coordinated a big project on value chains of dragon fruit in Binh Tuan and also other agricultural products in other provinces too. So could you please share your view on the demands of growers and food companies about the post-harvest and processing technology in these provinces? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dick. So if we go from the one specific province like Binh Tuan that Mr. Thinh mentioned before, now I will give you a little bit the big picture in Vietnam context. What is the need of the technology in terms of post-harvest and also processing? So as mentioned by Dr. Thinh, but however, I would also say that Vietnam is one of the countries with the richest and also most diverse vegetable and food in the world, not only in the area. In 2020 and 20, the export value of food and vegetable reached about 3.2 billion US dollar. However, the export remain limited. The export harvest loss in from 10 to 30%, according to the Ministry of Agriculture. Currently, as mentioned by Dr. Thinh, but however, 70% of food and vegetable and 80% for the wrong food is export to China. But the problem that the most of export products are unprocessed, the fats. However, the preservation method were outdated, and the package and also cold store are poor quality. There are, in Vietnam, there are in total about 150 industrial scale processing. That's a big company. With their design capacity about 1 million ton product per year, with advanced techniques and also deep processed product. But however, still have 1,000 SME. They have a very weakness in preservation, because that is the barrier to export of fat and food vegetable, including the dragon fruit in Binh Tuan too. You could see that currently, due to the impact of COVID-19, food and vegetable export to China is sometimes stuck at the border, and the transportation restriction. The lockdown few months ago, now until now, in the south of Vietnam, many provinces like Ho Chi Minh with other provinces, the lockdown. So the situation that lockdown, the transportation from province to province is impossible. Meanwhile, the pandemic has raised the need to increase the preservation of fat and food vegetable, but the weakness in post and harvest processing technology have made it difficult for food and vegetable products to add value, export to the international market, and also domestic market. So in inclusion, I find that there are needs of improving the processing technology, especially in the post-harvest and packaging stage, to preserve the product longer and enhance the quality for food and vegetable in Vietnam. The intention here is not only for the business company, but also at farm gates, at farm level. They are also play a very important roles for post-harvest and also harvesting. This is my point for the needed processing and so technology for food and vegetable in Vietnam. So that now I would like to ask you, as I also worked with you many times ago, a year ago. So I know that you have many good technology, and also we have one time to go together to Binh Tuan to transfer technology. So my question is, what are the state of your technology to be commercialized to food industry? So please take over to you.
Thank you, Binh, for your good question. In fact, we have in-house a bunch of technology for the targeted foods. Among them, technology to brew wine, jam, and dry candy are successfully tested in the lab, in the both lab and pilot scale, and ready for commercialization. We are now in the stage of contract negotiation with a food company in Binh Tuan to transfer technology to them to produce wine and jam. Other products such as fresh and concentrated juice, although they are successfully produced in the lab, but still they need to be tested in the pilot scale to adjust the technical parameters in a larger scale before it can be commercialized to the industry. Furthermore, our natural pasteurized juice without chemical preservative, its supply only lasts for 2 weeks. It's too short for the company to distribute it to the market. So normally they prefer the products with longer shelf life. Therefore, the more research needs to be done in order to find the solutions to prolong the supply of the fresh juice longer before it can be commercialized to the company. And other promising products such as anthocyanin and pectin, they could be extracted from dragon fruit peel, and they are valuable food additives. We did the preliminary research and got the positive results, but extensive work needs to be elaborated in order to have purified products which have the food grade. We currently call for investors to provide financial support together with us to do more research on this interesting topic. So ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, one of the most important objectives of developmental project is capacity building. Here I would like to ask Professor Nguyen Binh, the leader of the project joint program and research-based education in food technology in the VLIA network program, to share with us his insights in knowledge transfer to undergraduate and graduate students and learning them to do research. So, Mr. Binh, the floor is for you.
Thank you, Din. Thank you also, Flia and Christoph, for sending me a chance to talk to you. Let's go back to the history of the Master in Food Technology program in Belgium. I remember well, they are very, very excellent master program in food technology funded by FLIR OOS in Belgium for more than 25 years. And thanks to that program, we have chance to train almost more than 60 Vietnamese staff members from the north to the central to the south Vietnam for 25 years. And thanks to that, many of our staff have a chance to get trained. And later we come back to Vietnam. We adopted that kind of program in our training program in different universities in Vietnam. And later, also thanks to another support from FLIR, we call it FLIR network model. We can have a chance to build the master rollout in food technology in Vietnam now. And it means that we have the knowledge, the curriculum, and we have staff training in Belgium. And now we start to launch that master rollout in Vietnam. And by that way, we have a chance to transfer the knowledge that we adopted from Belgium to Vietnamese people, to also foreigners from African country, to Asian country, etc. And we train them, we share with them the knowledge, we share with them the methodology, we share with them the approaches that we learn from Belgium or other developed country in the world. And when we work with them in terms of thesis work, we will try to help them to pick up the problem of their local country. And then we apply the knowledge from the developed country to solve the problem of the local community of their country or our students in Vietnam. That's the way we help the people in our communities. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Binh, for your great view on knowledge capitalization for the young generations. Indeed, it's very important to coach them because they later will work in the food manufacturing enterprise, and not only in Vietnam, but also in other countries. So it will contribute to strengthening the food industry worldwide. Dear distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, so we still have some minutes left. So I would like to hear the opinions from the attendees. So let me check any questions from the participants. I see here one interesting question from Ms. Nguyen, and she asked which challenges I have been facing when doing research in Vietnam. Thank you for your good question. And I think most of young researchers in Vietnam, we confront with quite similar challenges when doing research in Vietnam. The major issues include the limited funding for research, and also deficiency of lab facilities and consumables, especially the facilities in the pilot scale. In my case, I'm very lucky to receive the financial support from VNUA, and also the wonderful assistance from my professors in Belgium to set up my research group here in Vietnam after my study in Belgium in 2011, so about 15 years ago. But that's not all. Many things still need to be solved in order to make the research running properly. So the lesson I learned when living in the challenging world is that we must be active and dynamic in order to find our own way to survive and to continue the research dream. Just let me give you one example. Some years ago, when we standardized the protocol for respiration rate measurement of fruits and vegetables, we had to find an incubator which must be completely airtight and airflow can dynamically go through. If we bought the one standardized used by my partners in KU Leuven, it would cost us about 400 € for one. While we need many of them, so it's simply that we couldn't afford it. So we started thinking of what could be a replacement. And finally, we found a cheap pressure cooker. It meets the requirement of airtight, but we still have to put some engineering effort so that to make it work with the gas flow system. And after all, we managed to do so with the price is about 20 € for one, and with some part modifies, but it works fine. And as long as it works, it's okay. This is just one example showing you that if we are willing to take the new challenges and turn them into opportunities for growth and commit to put the effort, then everything is possible. Yep, I hope I answered the question. And I still see quite some questions in the in the box, in the chat box. but due to the time constraint, we cannot respond on your questions now. But I will collect them and I will follow by the email. I do hope that you all enjoy the webinar today. Toward the end, I would like to thank you all for your gracious presence, and especially our speaker, Professor Bart Nicolai, Dr. Rodney Wee, Mr. Bui Van Minh, Mr. Nguyen Binh, and Mr. Tran Thinh. I thank you so much for your time and expertise today. Finally, on behalf of the research groups at VNUA and KU Leuven, once again, I would like to send a special thanks to VNUA for organizing such a wonderful event, so that we have an opportunity to share or to exchange ideas together, and for their wonderful support on the financial, so that we can doing the research here in Vietnam and generate the great outcomes, and also bring the positive impact to the community. And Christophe, I think you want to say some words to the participants, so please take the floor back. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this very successful talk, I should say. First of all, I would like to invite the participants here to also join us on the 7th of October, because much of this information, much of this research that has been done will also be continued with the University of Kinh Nhân. So we will start an IUC program. That's a 10-year program with Kinh Nhân. This is also by the initiative of KU Leuven. KU Leuven will be coordinating this project, and I invite you on the 7th of October to join our Connect session, where actually we can share ideas again and also exchange experience. Please check our website for more information on that, because there is also cooperation with other universities in our partner countries, mainly in Africa, I must say. And I would also like to invite you for our next community talk. So we try to organize it on a monthly basis. And our next community talk will be totally different, I must say. This time it will be on health, mainly specifically on mouth disease that is being fought in Kenya and Ethiopia. So this is a team of KU Leuven together with partners from Kenya and Ethiopia, who are then doing research on the foot and mouth disease. So I invite you there, and also later on for our next community talks. So thank you very much to all of you. Hope to see you again, and wishing you a very continuation of the day. Thank you.